Well, it's been that type of night, folks. Welcome to Soaring Prophets. As always, my name is Patrick, and this is my
James.
What are we calling?
The myth, the legend, James.
What are we calling you now? Is that what we're going with? The man, the myth.
We're gonna go with James. Yeah, I like James. You know, my parents, my mommy and daddy, they decided that James would be my name, and so I thought I'd go with it. Interesting story. When I turned 18, my dad said, "Your name's now Jim," and I said, "No, it's not, Dad. It is James. I love James. That is the name I enjoy, so I'm going to stick with it." And he's like, "Okay." But yeah, that was my my adulthood. So,
was there a middle name? Was there a middle name in there?
Patrick.
Oh, look at that!
I was named after this kid that was never born yet, but they knew in the future there would be like a big-haired, tanned, definitely handsome man that would be an integral part of my life. In the fact that he's annoying, but very conservative. And did I mention annoying? I'm not sure, but I love you, man. I do.
This is going down a dark path already.
Dark path.
As you folks can see, it's only me and this guy here this evening. Unfortunately, Ian, who was going to be joining us tonight from the Ottawa Marathon. It is the what marathon is it, James? Sorry,
Ottawa Marathon Tamarack.
The Tamarack. Ian unfortunately had to he kind of gave us a last minute email here saying that he had a bit of an emergency pop up and was unfortunately unable to join us tonight. So here we are. We know that you guys stick around for this other guy's handsome, devilish good looks and ways, and so we're just gonna roll with it. And basically what we decided to talk about is James's golf swing.
Well, before we talk about that, let's just stick on Ian for just a bit, because you know Ian is a pretty awesome guy, even though he couldn't make it. He is the executive director of the Tamarack Ottawa Run Marathon that I'm going to attend. I'm going to do the half, not the full, because I'm not ready for that yet. But the whole thing is that they raise money for a whole bunch of different events, and if you'd like to like donate, it's a great. There's lots of multiple causes. I myself am running for multiple sclerosis. Other people are running for other great causes, and it's just wonderful. If you can't run, you could always donate. He puts on a fabulous event. He also, I believe, is the president of the Ottawa Running Club. But yeah, so even though he couldn't be here, I thought, you know, you should go on the site, check it out. He does a really amazing job setting up this race, and it's a lot of work that he puts in, and it's worthy. And we'll get him on here. I'm also hoping to chat with him if he has 30 seconds. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday when I go up to run. But anyway, so golf swing, yes. So I got a fancy new $400 golf set because I thought that would improve my game, and it did. Pat, you have to admit that I do hit it farther.
Well, yeah, like it is way farther in the woods. Like it's way harder to find. When we go out and we go golfing, it used to be like you just kind of find it about 30, 40 yards in the woods.
Right.
And now it's like when we are teeing off on one, we're hitting into about 14. The distance, dude, I'm very proud of your swing. You've really come a long way. And it's just that athleticism that you just exude it. Like you just have this athleticism.
Now, if only I could get it straight, and I will. I am going to get it straight, and then I'll start betting it. We'll do like $100 a hole. It's going to be fantastic and fabulous. And golf has become a big part of my life. Speaking of golf, which has nothing to, this is a terrible segue, but I didn't have a better one, but I wanted to get it in there. Lisa Browning, I'm sure you're watching. They are having an incredible event this week. Every day in Guelph, they've had speakers and all sorts of great events to, I guess, to signify Sexual Awareness Month. They're doing a week in Guelph where they're having amazing talkers. They also on their site, Recovery Speaking Initiative, and our site, SoaringProphets YouTube.com. We also have the videos of Wendy, Dave, John, and Patty, four incredibly strong and wonderful, intelligent people who are on the other side of being sexually assaulted and are doing amazing things like writing books and speaking and helping others to also recover from sexual assault. And if you get the chance, whether you have been sexually assaulted or you haven't, it is worth looking at, because the things that these guys talk about, the incredible stuff that they mention, is phenomenal. Like the how they come from positivity. Like every time they talk, there's a positive kind of spin to what they're talking about, right, Pat?
Yeah, no, let's dive into this process a little bit, right? Is that so? First of all, we had interviewed a few of these individuals. Obviously, started with Lisa, and then Bob McCabe on the Soaring Prophets here, and then after Lisa had kind of quarterbacked us for a while and was championing us throughout her little circle, big circles, growing and growing and growing. They came to us and they said, "Hey, would you be interested in hosting this panel?" And at first, we kind of looked at each other. Well, we kind of looked at each other, and we're look at that, and we're kind of dumbfounded as to how to go about and create that process. Because I know, James, you've got a bit of a background in theater and what that looks like and the process of that. But this was something that it's the only way that I can explain it after going through it is you're taking somebody's toughest story, deepest, darkest, scariest moments of their life, and you're shining a bright light on it, and you're trying to understand where they're coming from, but also be able to draw that story out in a way that is clear and coherent. Mm-hmm. And that was a really unique process. And I'm just speaking from our side of things, right? Yeah.
It was also unique because like Bob McCabe, who is just a wonderful man that has helped so many people recover and is continuing to do that, and is a big driver behind this also with Lisa. Yeah. They're kind of in tandem doing this. He wanted it to be success. He wanted it to be, you can make it through sexual assault. And that part was also hard because, one, it's hard for us to like really be involved, not being survivors of sexual assault, but it also, how do you take a story such as Pam's or John's or Dave's or Wendy's and help them tell their legacy of a positive spin afterwards?
Well, and do it in a format that's, there has to be a bit of entertainment value, or it just turn that off.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So that was the thing that was, unique to me, in the fact that, you want this to be informative, educational. You want it to be inspiring because their stories are so, they're so elaborate and they're so detailed. And really at the end of the day, that it's a story that none of us, James or myself, really deeply understand or really deserve to, for lack of a better term. These are really personal stories. Yeah. And then interview someone like that. That was a new experience. And then put all the lighting, the sound, the extra guys that nobody has ever met before, all of a sudden are there. And it's like, go. Here, we're going to fire some lights at you. And for those that haven't had an opportunity to check it out, like James says, check it out. There's about an hour-long segment that we filmed, and we went on location in a studio setting, which, like, very cool. I've done a little bit of TV stuff before in my past. It was all like reality TV stuff, so it was never like that. You know what I mean?
Search it up. It's hilarious.
That was the first kind of unique thing where you're in a setting, right? Like, I think I've talked to you a little bit before. My father and I, we were filming a TV spot, I guess you'd say, showcasing the equestrian industry. And we were doing it. We were filming. We were doing the sound. We were doing all that sort of thing. So I had a little bit of insight.
Yeah.
Again, to go into a studio and see how that works, it was a very unique experience just from the production side.
Rob was incredible. The way he just broke it all down, got the 3 cameras involved, got the sound guy involved, the lighting guy involved.
Right.
There was one other man. I'm not sure. I can't remember what he did.
He just in the studio. It's fine.
There were just so many parts moving, and then and then the 4 of them, like they mentioned it in our interview. During our interview, they mentioned that they are almost like a brother, not a brotherhood, that's the wrong word for it, but because they've all survived it, they're already close, and it comes out like just being with them. They hadn't met each other before, and it was like they had known each other for years and years and years, and they included us like they knew us for years and years. It was just a beautiful moment after beautiful moment. Some maybe a little teary-eyed moments. And I suggest, like Bob says at the beginning of the video, it is a triggering video. All of the videos that are on for the Sexual Assault Awareness Month that we have on YouTube are very triggering.
Yeah.
But the way he says it is, they're all important messages. So watch a little bit, put it down, and walk away. Think about it, then come back and continue to watch it if that's what you need to do. But the most important message, and it was at the end that we asked, what would you tell people that are out there that have survived sexual assault but haven't told anyone yet? Maybe are afraid. Maybe the person that that assaulted them is big in the community. Maybe it's a family member that's important to them. What do you tell these people? And they said, tell your story. Tell your story. Start it with one person. And it just gets easier, and that is how you start. They talked a lot about owning their own story, and once they started telling their story, they said they started being able to own it instead of that other person, the person who did those horrible things to you. Yeah. So I thought that was just such a eye-opening thing.
See, one of the things that looking at it now, kind of in retrospect, was the ages of these individuals. Not saying that they're old, but they are, middle aged. And it would have been interesting to have somebody that was a little bit younger. And again, they all went through the process when they were very young and lived with that through their, those developmental years, right? What does a relationship look like? What does a marriage look like? What does that sort of, how does that change someone's processing in those really emotional and core memories, right? Like, what does that look like? And then to have somebody at 25, that has had that experience, and then where they are in that. And I think that would be a unique perspective to kind of get that handle on and see the difference between someone at 55 or 60 versus 25. And you are probably not done your road, right?
Yeah, no, well, that's what they said many times, that they weren't ready. And it wasn't until they were ready. And each of them had a unique story of how their first, like Wendy, it was because literally a police officer showed up at their door and someone else had been abused and thought Wendy might have been. John, who there were other people that were abused by a priest, and he was like, you know what? It's time for me to support them. And the others. There were many, like Dave and Pam. Pam, it was acting, like she was in a theater guild, and there was a group of women, I believe. No?
Family.
I thought it was like a knitting circle. It was strangers. It was older women.
No, it was family members. It was in her situation. It was her father had passed away in an automobile accident.
Yeah.
And very shortly after that, she was abused by her grandfather and family members.
No, I mean, but I'm talking about the first time they told something. Wendy told.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the first time that Pam told her story, shared her story, was a group of strangers, and I believe it was an acting group, and it was an older acting group, and she found that very releasing. And I don't remember Dave's, but it's in the video, so if you want to know, you can go check it out. Yeah. But all of them, just inspiring. I know Pam wrote a wonderful book. Wendy has written several books. John's in the middle of writing a book, so is Dave. John has got his BSW now. Is that right? Psychology? Yeah. So anyway, their message was there is a life after sexual abuse, but their feeling was, one, make sure you tell your story, even if it's to one person, write it down. Two, people will believe you, especially if they suffer from sexual assault.
What did you take from it? Like, looking back retrospectively, what did you take from that process? Like, from when we first get that email and they're asking, a couple weirdos like us with a YouTube channel. And like, folks, this was not, a shot in the guy's basement. Like, there was a lot of money and time and effort.
They paid.
Yeah. What'd you think?
Of which parts, right? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, okay, so all of a sudden you get this email hit your inbox, and they're like, "Hey, we got this idea to pitch to you," and they tell you what it is. What is your first initial after the sphincter releases a little bit? Where do you go with there?
My very 100% first initial response was no.
Right.
Like I am unworthy to even be able to do this. This is such an important message. This is such an important story to tell.
Then I agreed and said, "I got this."
Yeah. Then you agreed. That's right. And you said we're doing it. No, and then you and I talked, and we both had that feeling that, gosh, like this is important, but who are we to be a part of this? And then fortunately we talked with Bob, and Bob was so generous with his kindness and it was more about the fact of how we interview. It was more about the fact that we're caring, and we ask thoughtful questions that maybe others don't. And it wasn't so much that we could understand. It was more about that could be a good platform to help other people understand. And once he explained that to us, I was all for it. I was go, go, go. And I couldn't wait. I was excited the whole time. And there were some hard moments, I'm not going to lie. Like when we videotaped Pam telling her story, it took me a couple of days before I was able to shake those feelings, because that was a tough story to hear. All of their stories were tough to hear, but yeah,
that's who you are as a person, though, is that you've always been that type of guy that's very emotions forward. I'm going to say is that you are a helper. So when you hear somebody in a situation that again, speaking from past, in retrospect, coming with that story, you want to kind of reach out and give them a hug. That's just kind of who you are. But it's one of those situations that it's really hard to do that in front of a green screen and doing it through the computer. So how do you? And I think you did a fantastic job of it, because again, you did all of the scripting, you did all the question work through. Like, you did a fantastic job on this, and a lot of that comes from that emotional connection that you are able to establish with perfect strangers. I've watched you for years, whether you're, like you say, live chats at the bar tonight. I've watched you deal with perfect strangers that you've never met before, and they're crying at the bar, and by the end of the night, you've got them there, sometimes willingly, sometimes unwillingly, but you've had their life story delivered to you.
Oh yeah, okay, I understand that now. Unwillingly telling me their life story. Yeah.
Well, after
I seem to ask the right questions, but so just a little bit of correction. Like I helped write. I wrote the questions. I did, but Lisa Browning edited them. So did Rob, to make sure that they were the appropriate for the situation. So it wasn't just me. There was a lot of hands in that. But I do appreciate what you're saying. But Pat, you're also the perfect side. Like, you come off as this hard, like, shell of a rock, and everyone who truly knows you knows that you're soft like butter inside, and you're kind and you're generous. And you know what? You made those people feel like warm and welcome just as much, probably more than I did. Like, when we were sitting in the front room there and they walked in, you could see the nerves on their faces. You had that effect on them of chilling them down, because you're like talking to them, cracking jokes, asking the right questions, making them feel at ease. And really, we were called away, I remember, because we had to go in to get our lighting and stuff and our sound, because we're cool like that. And when we walked away, they were chatting like they had known each other for years. And that's because you set that up.
Well, now that we've finished up jerking each other off, that was good.
Yeah, so go check it out on our YouTube, or also go check out Recovery Speaking Initiative. I believe that it's on their website, and they also have a YouTube. They have so many other things. If you have survived or are of sexual assault, contact them. So for sure they have a men's group, but Wendy, who is one of the people who were integral to what we put on there, she is starting a women's group. As far as I know, that was in the works, so I don't know if it's set up or anything like that, but it is definitely worth checking them out. Either way, they can direct you to the people. It's not necessarily, you don't have to be in Guelph, because a lot of the stuff they do is like this online.
Well, and like you're saying about Wendy, and Wendy's the perfect personality type for that, right? She's worked in kind of the social work field for so many years. She understands the process. She understands those hardships that go along with it, and then she's a survivor herself. So when you take all of that, you package it up in this beautiful little personality that she has. She's the ideal human to be able to reach out to and know that whatever you're saying to her, it's not going to go any farther unless you want it to.
That's
so. Right. Definitely reach out, whether they've got it up or not. It's a Recovery Speaking Initiative. Go check it out. Shoot them an email. Shoot them a message, and you're not going to regret it. At the end of the day, no, it's such a great group of people. So, well, now that we've covered that, can we go back? Can we go back to making fun of you playing golf?
No, let's move on to I've been noticing, and I don't know if this is a current thing because I'm an old man, so I don't know how technology works. But apparently, Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is, everyone must know, working on AI, and he's probably ahead of the game because he's a very bright man. I don't know. I don't care what you think about him. You think that he's too conservative? You think that he's too liberal? You think that it doesn't matter what you think. He's a genius. And he's genius enough to have geniuses under him. And now he's working on this AI. But at the same time, so he's working on AI over here, but at the same time, he keeps on going to interviews and saying AI is going to destroy the world. Like AI is the most terrifying thing in the world. Like he literally said, we will not allow random people like you and I to build nukes, but you and I can go and build AI. And he said, AI is more terrifying than nukes.
Yeah. So I have a bit of a wild perspective on AI, and it's a lot of it is because I follow the markets, I follow the stock world, and right now artificial intelligence it's driving every company's bottom line. So when we started kind of, what do we want to say about stuff tonight, right? In the kind of the green room before we started, AI, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, because I come across people all the time that really have no idea or haven't experienced it. But really? Yeah, there's lots of people. Like there's a lot of people that they've heard of artificial intelligence because they've watched the sci-fi movies and they understand computer-based something. But there's programs out there now that are able to communicate, design, duplicate, more or less think as a human would. For one instance, that Chat GPT, which is a former company of Elon Musk's, OpenAI as an artificial intelligence. It was a company that he started years ago with the concept of having an open source technology. So anyone can use it, you can build on it, you can develop off of it, all these sorts of things. So that was Elon's idea, is that AI should be for everyone to be able to play with, learn, experience, and then grow it. Now he's at the point, like James had said earlier, is that he's at the point where he goes, you can't build nukes. So what do we do? The problem is that the nukes are already built. And now you have these massive blue chip technology companies, Google, you have NVIDIA they're a chip company. They're booming right now because everyone thinks, okay, when AI starts up, the server production is going to have to infinitely increase. So therefore, the bottom line and revenue and gross profits are going to increase exponentially, right? That makes sense. If you're using computers to do normal human jobs, there's more processing power. You're going to need all this sort of thing, right? So long story short, that's kind of the roundabout. But I think it's bullshit. That's my hot take. I think it's bullshit. So I'm going to take you back a year ago. And I'm going to take you back to when we were standing there with VR headsets on and we had little characters. For those of you that have been around the Profiteers long enough, you remember us. That was the metaverse. And at the time, everyone was stupid about the metaverse. The metaverse was going to be the new reality. It was going to be the new platform. It was going to be everything that we do is going to be touch feel in the metaverse, right? And that was driven by Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook. Right. So what happened there? Well, the economy, they used it. They pumped and pumped and pumped Meta, Facebook. They had NFTs everywhere. You had this mania is the way to explain it. You had a mania around this. And at that time, hedge funds, massive holders in these companies, CEOs, CFOs, the brass in these tech companies, they sold off into it. They sold their shares into this mania from retail buyers. Okay. I'm very concerned about AI. Not that it's never going to be a thing, it's just not prime time yet.
Right.
So what they're doing now is that everyone for the last 2 years has said, after COVID, we have printed trillions of dollars. You can't not go into some form of a recession. I think we have been in a recession for the last year. You can go by the numbers and are we maybe? Yeah, it's hard to look around and say that people are better off where they are today than they were. Okay. So when you print trillions of dollars and you have all of this gross domestic product increase, you have to duplicate that again next year. And you're not gonna. We're not printing enough money. It's not going to be a thing. So you're absolutely going to see at one point or another a recession. Now, how catastrophic is that going to be? You have companies like Nvidia, like Google, like all of these companies right now where their stock prices are again trying to reach all-time highs. Nvidia absolutely is. These very few blue chip companies that make up the majority of the indices. So again, we talked about this before, like NASDAQ, the S&P, all of these things. They aren't one company for one share in these holdings. Like Google and Apple make up 25% of the NASDAQ, two companies, because they have what's called market cap. Okay. They're the biggest companies in the world. Microsoft, Apple, Google, they're the big boys. Those three companies that make up almost 30% of the total NASDAQ have gone crazy, right? That's what's making the stock market look really hot right now. But what if it's the metaverse? What if it's we're going to sell into this buying pressure? And how many of you guys are in the metaverse tonight?
No one. Yeah.
No, right?
Yeah.
So they're using it.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they're using it as a platform to get out before the crash so that then they can blame it on things. Right. So when was the last time? What's your proof, Pat? Why do you think that? Okay. So we had housing crisis, right? Real estate prices ballooned. You had all of this run up, and then that's a bubble. Holy shit. That's not maintainable. You can't continue to go 20, 15, 30%, whatever, the percentages were geographically for your area. Those crash, they pull back. It's a cycle. We have boom bust economics, right? So we are now going to go through the bust, which we have been for the last year. Yeah. There's no breadth within the economy to support all-time highs in the stock market. There's 5 or 6 big companies that are killing it in AI. Mm-hmm. So what if AI is not going to be ready to replicate or replace 1 million jobs next year? Right. Well, the evaluations are way overblown. So what happens? You crash. And then you get to say, it just wasn't ready for prime time. It's like we talked about before about pets.com. Remember in our last interview? It just wasn't ready for prime time. Not that it's not going to be.
Right.
It wasn't ready yet.
But right now, Pet Value and all those ones are making a killing because I can order dog food to my door.
Yeah.
So I can get treats, dog food, toys, and that's what they were doing.
Right.
They were doing it before it was fun to do it, and that's because people weren't using it. It's kind of like the Oculus, the metaverse, and all that. I think it just people didn't take on to it as much. Like the headset itself is uncomfortable. When you wear it for long periods of time, it kind of hurts your eyes. And really, no one jumped into it. No one. It's like all the other, like back when there was Atari and Dreamcast and all of them. There wasn't enough games and not enough things because the other people didn't jump on and go, okay, I'm going to make a game for that, right? Like back in the day with Apple failed because they kept it in store. They were like, no one else can make a game. Meanwhile, IBM was like, you guys, here you go. We're going to make the best computer there is out there, but everyone can build stuff for it.
Yep.
And IBM thrived. Now Apple in the end won because they came up with the handheld computer, but at that time, like when I was a kid, IBM was destroying. They were like the biggest computer company in the world. And it's because they had so much content, it made it more viable, right? Whereas Apple did not, because Apple was making its own content. And when you have like less people at the job, there's less.
So what I think it's exactly what you're saying, is that you're right now on the precipice of Apple.
Right.
Okay. So you have this new technology that's going to rebuke, and it's going to resonate eventually with everybody, but it has to be a giant killer first. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I said to you tomorrow, and you scoffed when you said, hey, like, why don't people, what do you mean people don't know about, the artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
You scoffed at that. If I said to you tomorrow, I want you to use AI in your work day, what would you do tomorrow?
Well, so technically we do, on a minor scale, we use AI. Everyone does. Like every time you press the button on your watch and you go set an alarm for blah, 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 and it sets an alarm. You can, there are certain systems where you can go, hey, I want you to book me a hair appointment. And your phone computer AI on it will call the beauty parlor and go, hey, because I go to a beauty parlor now, apparently. It will call the beauty parlor and book whatever you want for the time you want.
My question to you is,
so technically we're already using it.
Have you ever booked it?
Have I ever?
Have you ever booked a hair appointment with your phone?
God, no, because I don't care. I'd rather do it myself. I'd rather, be able to touch it. Like, so I was having this fight with Kudo and trying to get a hold of them, and I couldn't talk to a person. It was very frustrating. And I also phoned Best Buy, and I was just trying to phone the store and talk to someone at the desk to talk about my phone, because I just bought a new phone, and I couldn't get anybody. You can't contact. I ended up getting someone somewhere in the world. I have no idea where. And they said, oh no, you can't talk to someone at the desk. I'm like, well, why not? She's like, well, you have to go in to talk to them. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, why can't I just talk to someone at the desk? Like, they're going to answer my question. They're in my town. They know what I need. And also, I already bought a phone and they know what I want. You don't. And she said, well, wouldn't it be like, how could they get any work done? You don't understand. We're a big organization. How would they get any work done if they were answering phones?
Like, okay, so I'm going to walk you back through all the stages of business development that it takes to get you to that level, though.
Right.
That's not plug and play.
What's not plug and play?
Well, that whole process you just went through.
Yeah.
So that automated process, right, has taken Kudo, Rogers, Bell, Elemental P, whoever, years and years and years and years and years to develop, knowing through thousands of iterations and conversations, because each person is going to be a new iteration of what they're asking, what their demands are, what their expectations are. That takes lots and lots of data. Okay. So the concept that AI can handle that plug and play within 365 days, I think is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And that's where I'm saying the expectations for these stocks, and therefore the rally in the market to where it is right now, is doomed to fail. It will fail.
You're thinking that people are projecting that AI will be way more than it is. That we're thinking
so right now. Okay, so here's a fantastic example.
Because they keep on coming out and say, well, there's that chat thing that you're talking about. Right now, it's hitting universities hard. My daughter's university, and in the questions that she's asked, they ask questions in such a way which are making it difficult for real humans to write answers to, essay questions to. But they ask them in such a way that if you put it in a chat box, it'll confuse it a little bit, and it makes it harder because there's information that chat box wouldn't know, apparently. I don't know how it works, but it's been a real problem for them because people have been just using this chat box in the exams, and it's writing the essay for them, and then they hand it in as original work, and it is original work because chat box stuff is original, right? So,
but hang on. What chat bot? And any website you click on that pops up and it's like, hey, contact us. You need legal, you need plumbing, you need whatever, right? And it comes up and, oh, you're going to talk to an automated human, right? Chatbots have been around for forever.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is it $1 trillion entity today? So I don't like when the calculator came out and your teacher said you have to learn your multiplication table, students. You're not going to have a calculator in your pocket when you're dealing and buying whatever. Right. It's literally in your pocket. Your phone is with you every day, all day, right? So I'm not poo-pooing artificial intelligence. I'm saying that if you're buying artificial intelligence stock business, an idea, that tomorrow artificial intelligence is going to change in $1 trillion way, I don't give a shit what you come up with. No one is going to pay $1 trillion to cheat at college. No one's going to pay $1 trillion to come up with a chatbot. It's done. It's been done. And they really are. They're good for what you use them for. But when you start drilling down into questions and the minutia, it's not good. It's not great. And it's a multi-trillion-dollar business idea right now.
I think it's because of what it can project it to do. If you can make a thinking computer that can solve problems in microseconds and very multifaceted problems that are unbelievable, and not only that, it learns from mistakes and it learns from while it's talking to you, you can use that for anything. And some of that very dangerous stuff that you can use it for. You can plan wars with it. You can plan the whole outcome of a war by logging in all the information of, how many tanks they have and everything, like War Games, that movie way back in the day.
Yeah. Well, so I would ask you, if you were to go back to the days when War Games, the movie, was there and they were coming up with that, that is the most rudimentary, way far gone past that than like 10 years, 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah. No, they're already planning. They already, right now, today, they plan out these wars. Absolutely. And computers do that and all that stuff.
Palantir is a fantastic example of this. This is something that you've invested in, I've invested in. And it's exactly what Palantir does.
Yeah.
And I believe, so why is Palantir different? Palantir is different because they are taking real world information, inputting it into their proprietary process. There's no other proprietary shit, right? How much AI is proprietary? You want to book a hair call, a hair salon appointment? These guys are doing it with their proprietary software and they're winning wars, right? They're fighting terrorism. They're making sure that if you want to get vaccinated in the NIH in Europe and in England, that every vaccine is accounted for. It's there. It's super fast. It's the most efficient way possible. That is why Palantir is up 76% this year.
Right.
Like these are the companies that are going to be on the forefront of it. But I'm telling you right now, you're going to see a pullback in Palantir, as much as I hate to say it. You're going to see a massive pullback in Microsoft, in Google.
Well, because they're not what they're hoping and projecting isn't going to come to fruition, but it's still going to happen. But why do you think? I think that Elon Musk does a lot of financial things. He makes decisions and says things because of finances.
Yep.
So why is he coming out and saying AI is scary? Is he trying to get the governments to monitor it, or is he trying to make it look like it's better than it is? Because if you say that AI is scary, there's a lot of people who have money that'll be like, oh, I'm going to go buy it. Because if he thinks it's scary, he's brilliant. They must be at a high level. They're going to make a lot of money. So why do you think he's coming in and saying that? Because he said it over and over. I can show you many videos where he talks about how AI is the worst thing. And
so
while he's creating.
Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right in a lot of what you said there. So Elon Musk, so right now Tesla is a car company, right?
Yes.
With the understanding that they have a tech basis. So their technology makes them worth more than all the other car companies in the world combined.
Right.
That's absurd if they're just a car company.
Right.
It's not absurd if they're a tech company. So Elon Musk has come out. He's got his Tesla line of vehicles. He gets flack all the time because he's trying to make them lower and lower and lower price so that they become a commodity, right?
Right.
That anyone can drive a Tesla.
Yeah.
But the thing about the cars that not a lot of people understand, because they're not a car company, remember, they're a technology company, is that every mile that those vehicles are being driven, they're getting and obtaining data. So when you're driving around in your little Tesla, you're cruising, right? You're cruising.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Cruising.
We're cruising. So when they're cruising around town, sorry?
There's a Wendy's.
There's a Wendy's. Yeah, we're cruising. When they're driving around town, they're learning. So Tesla is not a car company solving braking problems or engine efficiency problems. They're solving for vision. So as you're driving your car around, whether you're driving it in a Tesla or the autopilot is enabled where it'll drive itself, that car is learning to see, to recognize, to understand the environment, everything around it, stop signs, a car, a dog, a deer, all those things. It's learning constantly vision. Okay. What's the next product line that Tesla came out with? They came out with a robot.
Right.
An autonomous robot. Well, you take vision from the cars and you instill that into robotics, into robots. That's a super powerful platform that, again, they're not a car company. They say it all the time. We are not a car company.
Right.
We're a tech company.
Yeah.
If you solve vision on the grander scale, now you replace workforces. You replace people, and that people can go and work on the more meaningful tasks. So why is Elon saying, hey, whoa, AI? Because he's balls deep in it. Right? He's saying that the prime movers, right? The early adapters and innovators in these situations are going to write the history. They're going to write the programming when the government says, we need to crack down on AI. Well, who's the top AI guy? Well, we're going to sit with Google. We're going to sit with OpenAI, that is Elon's baby, remember? Yeah. We're going to sit with Microsoft. We're going to sit with, Tesla. Holy shit. Like, they solved vision. We're going to sit with these people and we're going to come up with platforms. And what's that going to look like? So if he was just a benevolent, dictator Elon, it would be that he could step back and he could look at it a very different thing and he would let other people take it. He realizes that artificial intelligence is the core of his business. It is the crux of any valuation of any business that he has, and he needs to be a part of it. And he needs to be the leader in it. But he can't say that while he's, look over here. I don't think he can be like, we should do what Tesla thinks we should do. Don't you think? He has to do that, right? So, and he's a master at it. He is. I like Elon. I think that he is a very smart guy, and he knows how to play to an audience incredibly well.
Well, he knows how to keep in the news, be in the limelight, and still run successful companies that are like leading innovators in technology. And when big names attack him, he's very good at punching them back in such a way that he doesn't look that bad. And case in point is when I can't remember who it was, but someone mentioned something about the fact that if he gave up so much money, he could solve world hunger. So he came in and said, okay, what are you going to do with it? You tell me what you're going to do with the money. I'll sell off Tesla right now and I will do it. I will give you the money. Yeah.
So that was Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Right.
And he called her a Karen because it sort of is absurd when you think about it. Here, this is the other thing going on in the world right now is this debt ceiling negotiation.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So you have a debt crisis in the United States, which again, why would the market be closing in on all-time highs when literally by the end of next week, we could be hitting a debt threshold that would have the United States defaulting on their debts. These are not things that lead to...
So explain that for a second, because So I do understand it's like a loan, and their interest now is going to push them past what they're allowed to borrow. But I don't know that everyone understands that. I know that that was very basic, but I was just trying to quickly explain.
Well,
maybe you could explain it in such a way that, so the debt ceiling. So right now, the Joe Biden's government is saying we are going to raise the debt ceiling, so therefore we don't default. It happens all the time. Happened under Trump. I believe it happened under Bush. It happens like a lot.
You missed the last crisis. The last crisis was under Obama.
Obama, sure. And so what happens is that whoever is the opposition is like, yeah, we'll raise it if we will raise it if you say you won't spend this, this, and this. They kind of use it as a power, and it goes right down to the line. Except for, I think, in the case of Obama, they actually did close down parks and a few things, didn't they?
So Obama, they did not default. They just did not raise the debt ceiling. So it was okay. So there's a lot. Yeah. So there's a lot to this, and if you believe that the system that we're on is real, then it's really hard to. Okay. So where do I come from that? So
First, explain debt ceiling. Let's just stick to that. Then you can tell me why it's a facade.
Okay. So the debt ceiling, I'm going to relate it to your own personal finance. Okay. So you go and you get a $5,000 credit card from Visa. Okay. So you're going along. Everything's good. You got $5,000 that because the government doesn't have a job, right? They borrow our money and say that it's their money. So it's the same thing. Visa, Master, whoever you want, right? Their money, their credit. They have credit. Okay. So in business, you have a balance sheet, and it's credits and debits. Debits are expenses. Credits are the incoming cash. Okay. So you got to think of them as constantly moving. So you have a debits that are bills going out, programs, welfare, healthcare, all of the things that go along with it. Right. And then you have tax revenue, and they even out down the middle, or they're supposed to. The concept is that if you have more expenses than you have income, which holy shit, do we ever?
Both Canada and the United States spent more than
drunken sailors.
Way more than they had. It was very, I understand why they did it, but it was not very fiscally responsible at all. So they're in a situation now where they have this visa. It's at $5,000, and next week they're going to have to pay a bill.
Well, it's at $4,994 today. Right. And we are coming up, and we got rent, and we got hydro, and we got all these bills that are due, and they are about to shoot over our $5,000 limit. Okay. So the Republicans are saying, hey, we have to stop spending. We need to pull back, and we need to cut all of these programs. And again, COVID programs are still running. There's in the government, no matter what side you are, there's bullshit waste. Whether you're Republican, whether you're Democrat, you're liberal, you're conservative, you're anarchist. Those guys I can kind of get down with. Then there's no spending. But what I'm saying is that you have all of these expenses that are coming out, and the only fix to it is increasing revenue. It's like $4,995. The bills are coming in. You're looking around, and you're like, I got to get a fucking job.
Right.
I got to get a job. I can't keep doing this. Okay. So what does the government do to make money? They increase taxes. Okay.
Right.
So the Democrats are saying we are not cutting our spending. We need to stimulate the economy, which everyone that's looking at inflation right now is going, you need to what? Huh?
What? With what?
Don't do that.
No.
And then on the other side, you've got the Republicans that are saying, no, we need to cut these programs. We need to get them under control so that we don't have to raise taxes. Because the Democrat side is, we're going to keep the programs, but we're going to tax the 1%. Going back to Elon. Elon goes, I'll give you all the money. Tell me where you're going to spend it and how you're going to do it. And I didn't see a lot of ideas.
No, there weren't.
So when you're trying to slow down an economy, like they are right now, that's why we're raising interest rates.
Yeah.
Tax is one of those things that can do it very quickly.
Sure.
Okay. So the Democrats
will spend less because going to buy that toaster oven that I don't really need is going to be a lot more if there's a higher tax on it.
If you had a $5,000 tax bill that came due last month, would you be running out to replace your toaster, or would you be maybe slow?
I would be toasting bread in the oven,
right,
like I did back in the day when I had no money.
right. And I would argue there's a lot of people out there in the last 2 years that have been hammered at tax time.
Yeah.
For that exact process, is that after COVID, after all the CERB, after all the things got paid out, those guys, they come back with their hand out and go, I helped you. Do your part, right? Yeah. And we as dummies, we as absolute dummies, we keep going, oh, just paying taxes is cool, man. Makes me cool. It's ridiculous, right? As much as the programs that we love, I struggle with the government running them because they're usually garbage at them. So going back to, do you believe in our system? So we have inflation. Why do we have inflation? The government printed a shit ton of money. Why? Because we had to pay for all of these programs, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. There's lots of programs that I think are fantastic. There's lots of programs that I think are ridiculous.
Just had to pay for like millions and millions of dollars in vaccinations.
Sure.
Yeah, there was that.
And whether you believe in those or not, right?
Yeah, you still had to pay millions of dollars in vaccinations. Like there was like people. I don't think people think of the cost of these things. Pfizer did not just go, we want to save the world. Here's some vaccinations. Canada paid through the nose for it.
100%. Yeah. So when you have these programs, wherever you land on them, that's great. But when you print money, if you have $1, let's say $100, because then we can roll down on it. If you have $100 in 1970, that $100 buying power, right, was drastically different.
Yeah.
Okay. So we all know this. We've all had that conversation with our parents or grandparents. Are like, I have to go down for a 10-cent Coke. Right? They go down to the store, get a 10-cent Coke, and they get change back.
Yep.
Okay.
I used to go down and get a Coke and a bag of chips and get change back for $1.
Right. So what we've done is we've had a tax on our earnings to where we are now. What's a corner store pop worth? Like $3.50?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So work that out. Okay. So as we print more money to fund these things, there's real consequences to that. So going back to the 60s and 70s, when we left the gold standard, okay, for those of you who don't know what that is that your $1 bill used to be exchangeable for $1 in gold. That was the gold standard. It was money.
If the American government or the Canadian government didn't have the gold in their bank, they couldn't print any extra money. The only time they could print money is if a dollar was wrecked, then they could reprint it.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We left the gold standard and we actually went around to people and said, thank you. You need to give us your gold and it was punishable by a criminal offense. It was a criminal offense to not turn in your gold after we moved off the gold standard in the United States.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So it was a criminal offense to store and hold gold. Well, why? Well, it's because they were moving to a new monetary system. So we went from gold standard to what is called fiat currency. Okay. So when we get that little bill with the queen on it and we look at it and we go, look at that. I got $20 bill. It's paper, folks.
Yeah.
The only reason that is a $20 or a $2, and I'm going back to the $2 bill, anything is because we, the people, as a society, has decided to go, that's 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That's 100.
Yeah. If I wrote on a brick and I convinced everyone in Peterborough that the brick was worth $40 billion, it'd be worth, or say I made an imaginary currency on a digital computer. And I convinced everyone to buy, like, say, I don't know what I call it, Bitcoin, maybe. I don't know. That just comes to mind. Then it's worth money. So that's exactly right. The 20 is only worth it because we have all continued to decide that yes, it is.
So you get now that our money is not real.
No,
so you get that,
especially now that there's nothing backing the $20 bill anymore. There used to be gold backing it. Now it's just the fact that we say it's worth that, so therefore it's worth that, because literally if the Canadian government fell and we went over to Europe to spend our $20 Canadian bill, they wouldn't take it because they don't care. It's nothing. It's not worth a thing. Yeah.
So we have this now where, and here comes the hat, tinfoil. We have that now where we have devalued our currency. You had $100 in the 70s. It's not worth shit now in comparison, right? We've devalued, debased. We've left the gold standard. We've debased and devalued our currency to the point where if you, like my parents, when they were making $50,000 in the early 90s, let's even say 2000, right? That $50,000 a year income, and you just have to look at the jobs, right? That $50,000 a year income is now, in relative terms, like $130,000 a year job.
Yes.
Right. If you were, cops, nurses, all those people, there's not too many guys walking around with a gun on their hip these days that aren't making $115,000, $120,000.
Yeah. You
go to early 2000s and you were making like 40.
Right. But still had the buying power of someone who has now
1/3. Right. Okay. And in real terms, you don't even, because your house is $1 million.
Right. Sure. So your debt is higher now.
You're levered. Right. Yeah. So, okay. We're going to have a banking crisis. We just had, right? Banks are running away. Why are banks folding? Banks are folding because they're going to give you 0.001% on your interest on your savings account. Well, you can go buy a bond and it's going to pay you 5%, not a year, a month.
Yeah.
Because that's how inverted.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is that the money leaves the banking system. Okay. The money leaves the institutional wealth that has been created due to panic. They're flooding out of all these programs.
Yeah.
And then you have this debt ceiling because the government went in and bailed them out with big money.
Yes.
So this debt ceiling crisis is very artificially created. And when I look in history at artificially created crises, hat on, I look to what is next. What's the agenda? What's the next move? And you don't have to look very far. And you can look to in the United States where they have a CBDC. And the CBDC is the central bank digital currency, which rolls out in July.
That's
just in time.
Yeah.
After a
bunch of banks closing.
Well, and potentially the most catastrophic debasement of the federal currency.
Right.
So if you create panic and you create blood in the streets, there will be opportunities. And
also, like cryptocurrency was attacked.
How so?
Well, because a little bit of it was there were crypto banks, and they failed miserably. So that made people afraid of crypto, which caused unrealistic panic. Even though, right? So people started pulling money out, as I understand it. So
so they're not banks.
Crypto become less safe looking.
Yes.
For us general people out there like myself and other people, it felt less safe because all we heard was crypto banks failing. Oh shit, crypto's not safe.
Yeah,
I'm out. And then now they're bringing in a digital currency. I can kind of see that. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Here's a safe government-run currency, so it's going to be safe because it's run by the government.
Right. Well, and so now you've established a kind of a modus operandi to why. Like, okay, so this could occur if there's a catastrophe, which bank runs. We haven't seen that since the Great Depression. Debt ceiling negotiations that aren't going well. Coming off the most ridiculous fiscal spending over the last 2 years you could ever imagine, right? You don't have to be pro-COVID, anti-COVID, wherever you are on that. I don't know any adult that can sit there and go, the government didn't waste any money during that process.
Tons of money. And the Canadian government itself knows that's why it's asking for money back and hurting people while asking for money back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the money that they gave out as COVID funds, they're taking back all at once and expecting people to just be able to pay it because, obviously you're covered now, which they have. Right.
Well, and this is where I go to when you have, and again, I'm conservative. I make no, ill bones about it. I'm very conservative and I'm much more fiscally conservative than anything. Is that the liberal president, the liberal prime minister in Canada, liberal all over the world, right? The conservatives and the more right-leaning, they dropped the ball in letting it get so deep. They should have never let it. But all of these countries that are now, like, they cared so much about you, your well-being, who you are as a person, your safety. And now they're saying, we're going to put you over the barrel here. And it's like, like, we didn't care that much. Like, that much. Right. And this is where I come back to it is that, okay, so we're all social justice advocates in our own ways, whatever your causation is. I think everyone can say that on some level, there's a cause that you agree with and should be supported. But if you're at a situation where there's no more money on that credit card, and you look over at your wife and you look over at your kids and you go, we can't afford the Escalade in the driveway anymore, guys.
Yeah.
Like, the adults have to sit in the room for a while and go, it's going to be painful. We can't play AAA hockey. We're going to have to just play house league. We're not going to be able to afford the $500 hockey stick, but we're going to play hockey, right? And this is where AI, full circle, AI is giving light at the end of the tunnel because it's going to make businesses efficient, that makes them more profitable. And therefore, the elite group of people that own these businesses are looking at it and saying, we are going to boom.
Right.
We're going to boom. Well, so this is where you're getting people that are coming and saying, okay, we need to have, livable wages for everybody. We have to have a global guaranteed income platform. And Elon himself has said, like, that's probably the long term of this, because you're going to be replaced.
Yeah. Well, today, not today, was that 2 days ago? What did you see at Walmart?
I loved it.
Yeah. I wish you could pop up the video.
Loved it. So I'm standing there. I'm with my daughter. We're doing some shopping in Walmart, which I hate. I loathe Walmart. But I was there picking some stuff up. And as I'm standing there, there's a guy who I approached, and he has a self-cleaning mopping floor cleaner. Right. So it's a scrubber where you see a guy driving around on
autonomous floor cleaner.
An autonomous floor cleaner.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a picture of it because I'm like, James is gonna love this. This is great. And it's got eyes and a big smiley face on the front of it. And it's R2D2 as it's going down. And I'm like filming this, thinking this is amazing, right? And I go to the guy and I say, hey, like, are you with this? Right? And he's like, Scusi. And he goes into his pocket and he pulls out a Mexican translation app. And he has to translate because he's not from here. He's working with this company that are going around and mapping all of these Walmarts. And he goes, that's it. That is it. That's awesome. He's going around mapping all of these processes and all of these Walmarts. And then he goes, once it's mapped, I'm done. I never have a job again.
Right.
Done.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're Walmart and say that cleaner is
not only that, the guy who cleans the floor every day, that's like 3 or 4 people at least, right? Be more than that. They're out. They're gone.
So you spend, even if you spend $1 million on that floor cleaner, what's your return on investment timeline?
Pretty good. You'd have a couple of years, maybe. Yeah.
No, you have no labor disputes. Why is there no people at Walmart for checkouts? You don't have labor disputes. You don't have to worry about any harassment issues. Like Walmart was such a terrible offender where they would show their people how to get on welfare and food stamps because they were paying such poor wages. Like, this is not benevolent. This is bottom line.
It's business. It's so they make more money. Absolutely. That's why they have the self-checkouts. That's why and it's inevitable. It's the same as when we went from horses pulling plows to tractors that pulled plows. That made a huge difference. And soon now, especially now in Florida, where they've made it impossible for immigrant workers to come, I believe it is. Is it Florida? And so now fields aren't being picked. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'd be shocked if you didn't.
Well, so you have immigration issues in the United States like we've never seen before.
Yeah, right.
And I like, illegal workers have always been an issue. Like, I've traveled extensively down in the States, and like when you go into restaurants or you go into any like entertainment type thing, there is a massive amount of the population that is working for nothing.
Don't
Like,
fool yourself. They're coming here and doing it too. Like our fruits and vegetables are being picked in Canada by immigrant workers that they fly in and fly back out. Like it's not,
100%. It's everywhere. And it's because it's cheaper, right?
Totally.
And the argument on the other side, you know, when you're like, well, who's going to do it? Like, well, these Canadians and American kids aren't going out and picking corn, or they're not picking apples, or not picking anything. And you and I have had this conversation before. It's that, like, you know, the apple picker 4,000, right? You don't allow people that come into a country illegally, can't go to the police if they're being harmed, can't go and get the supports and the assurance that they need in their personal life. You don't
paid, there's nothing you can do.
But you don't let them into the country thinking that you're doing them a favor when they can't access any of that stuff. Or they're going to be deported. That's slavery. Like, at the end of the day, this is not like, so I'm an Irish, third generation Irish immigrant. I get immigration, right? We left Ireland because they didn't like us there, right? We came here and we started a new life for our people. And at the time, that was amazing. That was a great opportunity for us. And my great grandparents were like, get on the boat. The issue now, what's happening in a lot of the southern states, is that you're having this influx of illegal immigration that's coming across, and they're coming into these communities, and they become slaves. They become monetary slaves. They go and work in some of the worst conditions. They go and work in some of the largest. Food processing is
long hours and poor pay, and sometimes some of the stuff that I've read and watched, they whoever's getting them will say, well, you know, you made $500 this week, but it's $300 for because you lived in my bed, and then I fed you every day, so that's another $200. And then it was $50 for, you know, those gloves I gave you, and $50 for the boots. So you owe me $100. So how do you want to pay that? Like, literally, I've heard, like, this is what's happening, and so they have to work more. You know, it's a cycle.
But this is not historically uncharted territory.
No, we've known for years. Everyone's known for years. We're ignoring it.
We've literally done this throughout the great history of peoples.
Yes.
Because we realize that it creates an inexorbitant amount of wealth, right? So when I hear people saying, they're like, hey, you know, like, no person is illegal, right? When I hear, you know, a lot of liberal leaning, a lot of Democrats, it goes, you're absolutely right. That Juan, Juanita, Tim, Tammy, whoever, wherever they come from, if they're smuggling themselves in a box, they're doing it in a way that puts themselves in danger. They're obviously leaving a situation that is terrible. God bless them for coming and being.
So. You wouldn't put yourself in a box if you didn't. Yeah.
But God bless them for coming and doing that. The issue is that now that they come here, even though that they fled whatever issue they're having here, they now are perpetually in a situation where they can never get a status to be a Canadian or an American and live the total vision. Now, who wants that for somebody else? Like 30 years from now, Juan or Juanita or Tim or Tammy, they can't go and receive the supports that they need. That's slavery. That's slavery.
You're absolutely right. They'll never be a citizen of the country. They'll never be able to feel like they could run up to a cop when they needed help. They could never go to like a Better Business Bureau or a report or unionize or anything. No, it would be even buying a house would be impossible. Getting a bank account's impossible. Contracts. No, it is tougher if you come in as an illegal immigrant. Now,
it's just not benevolent. It's not benevolent to allow these people to roll in the way that they are, as a lot of the left will say it is. We have to do this. They're fleeing oppression. They're fleeing a terrible situation. And it's like 100%. I would not want to live in Nicaragua.
But there's a system for that, is what you're saying. We have a system. Canada has a system. The U.S. has a system. And if people come in through that system, they do very well. We have a couple of immigrants in Peterborough itself that have huge businesses now. Restaurant businesses and other businesses that are doing very well, and they are giving back to the community. Wonderful, wonderful people. Absolutely. But if they came illegally, they wouldn't have been able to do any of that. So I get what you're saying. I'm very liberal, and I think that we need to help these people. I think from what other liberal friends, they have the opinion that conservatives do not want to help, that they want to keep everyone out. And it has been my understanding, talking to other conservatives, that's not entirely the case. They don't want to like completely open it up to everyone. They want fewer people.
Well,
They want it in a planned way.
It's the old liberal moniker that if you disagree with them, it's racism. No, but it is.
There are some people out there, just like there's some Nazis out there on the conservative side. Yes, 100%. You're absolutely right.
No, I would argue that the left runs to racism, sexism, misogyny, all of those things very quickly in a discussion or an argument. Because if you disagree with them, they go to a moral place.
I don't think all liberals do that, though, is what I'm saying. I agree. There are liberals out there that I have talking to myself that frustrate the hell out of me. Right. They're like, because you feel that way, you're a racist or you're a phobia of some kind. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm allowed to have an opinion. But on the other side of the coin, conservatives go to like, you're soft and you're weak and you can't let everyone come in and you just want to give money to everybody. And it's not necessarily true. We just want humanity to thrive, right? We want humanity to have a base that they can stand upon, because there should be a certain level, like you're saying, like eventually we're going to be in a serious problem if AI takes over and they start building robots to stock shelves and serve me coffee, which will be very easy to do. I don't know why Tim Hortons hasn't done it already. They could be doing it today. Then that's a lot of people at work that don't have the money or the spin to be able to get into something else, because that's what we have to do. We have to prep. What's the next jobs then? If AI is going to be so big, what are the jobs that's what we should be doing in our high schools. That's what we should be doing in our elementary schools today. We should be like, you know what, 20 years from now or 5 years from now, AI is going to be what's big. So what are those jobs? Okay, now we got to teach math and science and stuff based upon that.
Well, you and I,
we're still doing it based upon you have to go to university and become a teacher. And that's not okay.
You and I have had these discussions on the failing of the education system, right? That then I go back to the old adage of, you got the calculator in your pocket. Now you're going to have AI in your pocket. You're going to use it on different ways. You're not going to, I don't think, and it can't happen as fast as the investment world is saying it, because you would have catastrophic outcomes, right? Yes. Like if everyone is replaced with the speed that they are investing in.
Oh, it'd be awful.
It would be catastrophic. Right.
We wouldn't be able to sustain ourselves because no one could work at Tim Hortons, Walmart, any of those stores. None of those people would immediately stop being able to pay taxes and would be on some sort of assistance.
So what? Okay, so now we're going to go to the political ideology here, right?
Yeah.
So communism, communist countries, Soviet Union, China. The number one thing that a lot of dictatorial leaders in communist countries are concerned about is idle hands. If you aren't working, you go out and you sit on the coffee house and you start talking and you start being disgruntled and you amalgamate a viewpoint that is ideologically disposed in a different way than the ruling class of people.
Yeah.
So what are we doing now? Right. All of this is coming. We are the most divided group of people that we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Everyone has their opinion on Facebook, on Instagram, on all these things. We are very divided. Okay.
I would argue more people are acting upon that division now than ever before.
Well, it's really easy to tell someone to fuck off over Facebook and you never see them and you never got punched in the face and all those things. The issue is now is that if you create a world of mass unemployment, okay, because that's what it is when your job is replaced by AI.
Oh, yeah.
The political movements from that are wild, just wild. Now, this is where the central bank digital currency comes in, because our problem with inflation right now is that all the money was printed but the government can't control it after it's printed. It goes out into the market. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've got
wherever you want it, people want to spend it.
Spend it on what you want.
You spend it.
Right. Spend it on anything you want. So if you have a digital currency, the government can literally control it.
Yep.
It's digital. They can code kill switches in it. They can code where you can't buy cigarettes. Oh, it's in the name of your health, sir. You can't buy cigarettes with this, right?
Yep.
You can't buy alcohol, or you can't buy beef, because beef and greenhouse gas emissions are the number one problem that we're facing right now. Okay. Again, it doesn't matter where you fall politically on these issues. No. It should be scary that these are quasi-realities right now. So as you have these currencies that can potentially, I have $100 in my bank account today, and if I don't spend it by the end of the day, I might only have 25.
Yeah.
I have 25. You call them good boy coupons.
Right. Yeah. Or they decide that you're spending too much money and they can slow you down. Or you have a political difference with them, and you decide that you want to protest, say, I don't know, in Ottawa or something. And maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. It doesn't matter to me for the conversation we're having now, whether they're right or wrong. So we're just going to set that aside, that the truckers were either right or they were wrong. Does not matter to this discussion. But the fact that bank accounts were shut down, terrifying, because these people believe differently than the government. And not all the people who had their bank accounts shut down didn't believe in the government. They just were like, oh, we don't like whatever they decided they don't like. Now you go to a digital currency, it's just a switch. So they had to go to courts and they had to do a bunch of stuff. There were steps they had to follow, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a switch, right? I'm sure there'll be courts and steps you have to follow, but
why? Why would there be? Because
I would hope that we would put that in place. I would hope we'd put that in place.
Yeah, because we're super good at privacy and we're super good at government integrity when it comes to that, right?
I don't share my privacy with anybody but Google and Tim Hortons and Starbucks and I don't know, all the other ones, Facebook.
It's a crazy scenario. And if I had said this 3 or 4 years ago, or heard myself saying it 3 or 4 years ago, I'd be like, oh, that's a problem for 30, 40 years from now. You know, like as the technology evolves. And it's pretty hard to sit there now and go, we live in this benevolent, democratic, truly a process that is representative of the democracy in which we are instilled in our Western ideologies.
Right.
It's really hard to say that that's even remotely factual anymore.
Right.
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens though? Like what happens? I know we're going to wrap up here in a second, but what happens when you have a group? And I would argue that the young people are even more disillusioned because, like, for instance,
the young people are disillusioned for what you're saying. They're coming out of like whether or not they go all the way through high school and university or college, and they come out the other side and they're not finding the jobs that they were hoping that they were told. They were told. I remember when I went to college. I'm sure when you went to college, you were told you will get a job. If you take this course, you will get a job afterwards. I'm sure they're told the same things. For us, at least for me, it was fairly easy. And now I have experience and I have skills, and I'm pretty confident I could go out right now and get a job. But these new people that don't have skills, that just come out with education, when all of our older people are now doing second careers and can't just retire, now they're going back and doing Tim Hortons and all those other jobs. It's hard for these kids to get that experience. So now they're sitting around, and now they have chat boxes that they can touch someone in all across the world. And not only that, they're getting quick on the site video of the most atrocious things that we never got to see, right? We saw a fragment of the atrocious things when we were growing up because we didn't have the speed. We didn't have video cameras everywhere. Probably still this similar amount, but we didn't get to see it all. Now there's so many because people can't wait to film it. As soon as they see it, they film it and they put it up because they want the likes and the clicks. So now we have
all those people. So what people
sitting around.
Hang on.
Yeah.
So what if all of those people come together and go, "Hey, we're done with this bullshit."
Yep.
No, but like that's a question. Like, and the reason
right now, that's where we're at. We're at a point where the young people are like, this is ridiculous. I don't have a job. And now they have a group think because they are just, it's like they're sitting at the park. It's like they're sitting, you know, at the bar and they're chatting going, this is ridiculous. We're being taxed. They're taking away this. We're not allowed to do this. And now I can't get a job. And now the CERB that they said they were going to help me out with, they want back. You know, it's only a matter of time that this group think, and also that we're
the most divided we've ever been. So there's no group thing.
Yeah.
So now all of the things that are the group think things, right? Yeah. The you have to believe in this or you're immoral or you're this or you're that. Why are they? Maybe they're not as real and as touching in deep in depths of society as we're being told. Because holy shit, if we're not looking at those situations and we start looking around and start going, well, they just shut down my bank account because I went to a protest, or they went and turned off my rights and liberties for 2 years that I couldn't go and do things or watch my father die.
Yep. Or like, the gas is so expensive I can't afford to get a job.
Right. But if we say that, you know, whatever agenda you want to point your finger on, if that's the defining thing of this generation and the society, it's really easy to keep people from waking up.
Right. Technically, that group think that you know is happening now because young people aren't working. You can aim. You can definitely. Our media is aiming it daily. So don't be angry that you don't have food or you don't have a job, which is what you should be angry about.
Yeah. If you're being mad that somebody said something mean to you.
Yeah. That's what you should be angry about, is that you can't afford life.
Right.
Not all this other stuff that they keep on putting. That stuff is important. I am a liberal. I believe in all that stuff. All of it. I believe in all the rights and all of that is important. But if you can't afford to live, that's what you should be concentrating on.
As a conservative, there's nobody that believes more in rights than me. The problem is that when you're yelling about rights you don't have, that you do have, the fuck are we talking about? Like, that's mind-blowing to me. We have to have all the rights, and that is the liberal ideology that drowns me. Is it like
there are rights that they are yelling about that they don't have, but there are a few sometimes that I listen to that I'm like, but we already have that. I don't understand. I don't get what the problem is. And you know, I have fights with my daughter who's older and is of that age, and we get to that point where I'm like, but you have that right, and she's like, no, we don't. And then we get into these big arguments about it. I'm like, I don't understand why you're so upset about something you already have. I get that, but there are other things that they don't. But the basics, that's what I'm saying. I'm an old school guy. I was brought up, feed your family. Pray to God that's who I am. And have a job. Those are the fundamentals. Make sure your family's fed, have a job. And after that, then, you know, you want to do theater, you want to go protest, you want to change the world, go do it. I think we're at a position now that we have to start really looking at what is work going to look like. And that's what we should be like. That's what everyone should be looking at right now. What are we going to do to make money? Well, what are we going to do to feed our families?
Well, now that James is a conservative Nazi,
I'm not a fucking conservative.
We wrapped up on the perfect note there. He's now a capitalist, true and blue. And we thank all of you.
I am a capitalist, and because I'm a moderate liberal, because I am a liberal, the old school liberals are like, there are times to be fiscally responsible. There are times that the other stuff isn't quite as important. Still important, put it on the back burner, but we got to fix this problem. Otherwise, this problem is just like, if this problem explodes, the one where we don't have jobs, this stuff is not going to even matter. No one's going to be able to do anything about it. But if we fix this problem, we can fix these problems. That's what liberalism true liberalism is about.
There's an old saying, and the old saying goes is that hard times make good men.
True.
Good men make good times. Good times make weak men.
That's right.
Weak men make hard times. And the circle goes and goes and goes. And we are in a process where we have had the most access to information. We have had the best living standards in ever. And like for people that don't think that, you're an idiot. There's no other way of explaining it.
There's definitely poverty and all that other stuff. But yes, no, our standards of living are higher than
you live today. You live today.
Man.
Welfare in Canada, you live today with more benefits and more privileges and more frills than a multi-millionaire would in the 20s.
I don't agree with that.
100%
wrong. I think you're sadly mistaken, my friend. They do not. No,
you go to
By the end of the day, after they pay rent and after they pay living expenses, there's very little. No, I completely 100% disagree with you. No,
a millionaire in the
I would agree. Middle class, my kind of middle class. Yes, we are living like millionaires back in the day. Absolutely. I get Starbucks coffee every day. I can go buy whatever I want. I get stuff shipped to me. I am living like a millionaire back then. Someone on welfare is not, man. You can't make that comparison. I don't even know how you. You haven't had anyone in welfare.
I'm going to.
Don't be ridiculous.
I'm going to. So when you go and you go to the wall and you flip on that switch, okay? Yeah. When you flip on that switch,
my power switch,
that's electricity into your home.
Great. That's what I call it. Yeah. Right.
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I just said, yeah, that's what I call it too. Electricity. Go ahead. I'm being stupid.
When you go to that switch and you flip that electricity on and the power comes on in your home, okay? Right. What is that worth in 1920? When you go to the well, your kitchen sink, and you turn that tap and you have clean drinking water that you didn't have to go and or fetch. When you go to your bathroom and you go and sit on your toilet.
What if you're deciding whether or not you can have power or you can have food? That's what you're missing. People on welfare aren't like just switching on a switch because they can afford power, man. You're so wrong. You're so misinformed in this area. See, I will agree with you.
This is where the liberal goes. The liberal goes to you don't know when I'm explaining. I'm explaining that
those I'm explaining it back.
Nope.
They have to choose between power and food.
You're telling me that in Ontario housing on any block around here that those families don't have a cell phone in their hand?
I have no idea. I can't answer that question. I do not know. But they
don't have internet in their home.
I'm guessing that they're doing pay as you go, and there will be months that they don't have access to cell phones. I think that you're overestimating the decision someone on welfare has to make in order to survive on a daily basis is nowhere. You can't relate that to billionaire status. I will not give you that. I will not give you that.
You shit outside. Do you shit inside anymore? You had no
electricity. Not a mission of wealth. Eating and being able to go do things, that's wealth. Like how many welfare people have gone to the Met to watch something, or gone to like Princess, I can't remember what it's called, the Princess Theater, and watched a musical. Those are the things that make a millionaire.
So your viewpoint is that to be a wealthy person, that you have to do those things.
Disposable income is wealth.
No.
The
quality of life. Disposable income is not wealth. The most wealthy people in the world, and this is where you just shot yourself in the economic foot. The wealthiest people in the world do not have disposable income. They are leveraged to the tits.
No, I agree.
But they do not have
disposable income at any moment.
None. It doesn't make sense. There's no disposable income. The most wealthiest people in the world
have disposable income that they can use. Even if they're leveraged to the tits, they can still hop on a plane and go to Florida. or they could hop on a plane and go to Paris, or they could go
Not in the
they could do whatever the hell they want.
of the century 1900s, Rockefeller.
Right. Could do pretty much whatever the hell he wanted.
In 1930 or 1900s terms, of course.
Sure.
But the divide between the wealth of 1900, we'll go to 1900, the divide of wealth in 1900 to walk into your home today, not even the same. And to say it is ridiculous.
What I'm saying is that you cannot compare someone on welfare to. I agree with you. I would say that I live better than a millionaire in the 1920s. Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, the things I have, the fact that I like right now, I could hop in my car, go to Starbucks coffee, or I could hire someone to come clean my house or whatever. Absolutely, but someone on welfare, that's not the case, man. That is not even close to the case. And I'm
put a value on electricity in your home. Put a value on heat in your home. Put a value on all these things.
Right. What you're missing is sometimes they don't have those things because they have to make hard choices.
Everyone does. Grow up. Everyone does.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, whether or not they should get a job, whether we're talking about living on welfare. That's where we are. So try to stick with us, conservative. We're talking about living on fucking welfare and using that money to live life. We're not talking about whether or not it is the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, grow up, or anything like that. If you are on welfare, you are not making enough money to sustain all of the costs of life. It just isn't a thing. You can't.
I'm going back and I'm going to reiterate the fact that the lifestyle that you are living is drastically different in 2023 to the level like you.
Yes.
I know that you don't want to have this conversation, but plumbing, electricity,
sure.
A lot of people have cars.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that says you're on welfare, you can't have a car.
Do whatever you want if you're on welfare.
Fucking grass because you live in Ontario housing. Like, start with me a little bit of like opening the mind's eye and going.
Ontario housing, slightly different. You're absolutely right because you have a cheaper rent and stuff like that. But not everyone can live in Ontario housing, so that's where you're wrong. All I'm saying is that it's not the same. You can't even say it's the same. It's just not. It doesn't matter that plumbing is great. They have water that comes into their house. Yeah, for sure. They have hydro that comes in their house. But what if they can't pay the water? What if they can't pay the hydro? Which happens? It happens.
Then what do we do in Canada? How many people last winter did you hear that froze to death in their apartments?
Okay, so now you've changed
the goddamn one.
We have decided that during the winter time you cannot shut off service. But as soon as summer comes around, you can. And then what happens?
So then what would happen next year?
What happens next year? You tell me.
They're heated and hydroed the way that they are.
You think they're just going to turn it back on?
Yes, that's the point.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if they will turn it back on once you're turned off. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, I feel like we're at the bar again. This is exactly what it was like when we used to hang out at the bar. We'd get all animated and upset. I love you like a brother, and I think you're amazing. You're knowledgeable and smart. Sometimes you're definitely wrong. I hope if anyone has lasted an hour and 33 minutes, which I see some people have, I am shocked. I don't even know how you're doing it.
We're
comment. Tell us what you think about this welfare issue, because you know what? Do you think that someone on welfare to now is like a millionaire in the 1920s?
So it's Patrick with a CK when you go, Patrick was right.
Oh, I thought you meant CK for the other word. Patrick is
Oh, F.
Dick.
Oops. Oh, we were going to Dick. I got it.
Oh, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
As always, you're not wrapping this up. I'm wrapping this shit up.
I was wrapping it up. I was right in the middle of it.
Nah, you're just here for the show. You're just a good looking.
You know what? You've lost a lot during this interview. You haven't won a lot of arguments. So you know what? I'm going to give it to you. You go ahead. Go ahead. Take the ball.
Always grateful, a gracious loser, and I appreciate you for that. So, Folks, as always, this was a little bit of a jumble tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Those of you that are right there and watching this, clearly we love what we do. This is always a really cool Thursday night. I get to hang out with this meathead and kind of enlighten him with things in the world. And I appreciate you guys sticking with us and catching us not so live in the next couple of days and that sort of deal. So as for me, again, it's CK Patrick for when you comment in the bottom there. But as always, folks, thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe, and share. If you guys think this is kind of interesting, fun, show it to your people. Get it out there. It helps us grow. It helps us build our community. And that's what we're trying to do. Make this a fun conversation for everybody. So as always, folks, for me, let's make some money together, guys.
Absolutely. These conversations are always fun. And it's kind of what we're trying to spread. You know, like Pat and I just had a serious argument. We got a little bit heated back and forth. We do this all the time. But at the end of the day, he's my brother. And, you know, I'm going to go golfing with him soon. And we're going to have a great time. And, you know, like it's just one of those things that you're allowed to have opinions. And we need to figure that out again. We need to be able, doesn't matter what side we're on. Doesn't matter if he's wrong and I'm right. It just matters that we can share opinions and discuss this stuff. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much for listening to us meander through this conversation tonight. We're going to have Ian on soon. I was talking to him this evening. And once he gets over it, and probably when I go there, I might meet him and we'll do some interviews there. He's a very interesting man. Please check out his website if you'd like to donate money, if you're looking for a place to donate money. I know he personally is raising money for the sexual assault clinic in Ottawa. Getting on sexual assault. We also have those videos that everyone should see. Everyone should see. There is, the more and more I've learned about this stuff, the more and more I have heard stories about how many people are affected, both men and women. You will be astounded at how many people that are walking beside you every day, and you have no idea that they've gone through such torment. Wendy herself. I have known Wendy most of my life. And for most of my life, I had no idea that she suffered anything because she hid it so well. So it's an important lesson. It's an important story. And I hope you all go and check it out. And as always, let's heal our minds, bodies, and souls together.
Easy for you to say.
Before we
go, those of you that are out there watching this, that run, throw a little money there. James is going to link on the bottom of this his charity that he's working with. His mother passed away from MS years ago. He's trying to raise some money for that. Please go and do that. It's a cause near and dear to him, and he's shit at marketing. So I'll do the little shout out for him. So as always, folks, it's been a pleasure.